This video turned out a lot longer than I expected, so I don't really want to get rid of any of the parts that I have done. So if you find it a bit slow and tedious, please feel free to fast forward and just gain from it what you want or what you need. Alright, so let's start. Alright, so we've made the eyes in a previous video. So now we need to start the sculpt, and to do that we need to make the armature. I use a block with various holes drilled into it so that I have a way to make my sculpture stand while I'm working on them. And the whole series that I've done with these portrait sculptures, I've used these two holes. So the bases are basically interchangeable because of that. So I use galvanized wire. I have no idea what gauge this is. It's about 1.2 millimeter. It's quite firm. It doesn't bend very easily. I usually bend it with a pair of pliers. I've already cut the wires and I've bent them, and I have stuck them together with some air conditioner tape. You can use masking tape, but I really like this stuff, so that's what I use. So I have measured it vaguely against the other portrait sculptures that I've done, and this is the bend over here is where the center of the neck would be. So now I can start building my armature on top of this. To do that, I'm going to use tinfoil. I use the light beauty foil because it is easier to bend and fold and, well, basically make the shape that I want. So I just start off with a piece, crumple it up softly, and then I'm going to start with the body first, the shoulders and chest area. So keep on making sure that my wires are not twisting, and build the first part of the shape straight onto it. I'm bringing the waist in quite small because you must remember you're going to be putting clay on top of this. So if you're not careful, you can get too bulky just with the armature. So I squeeze it nice and tight, exactly the way that I want it to be. I'll also press it on some flat surfaces. That way it gets rid of some of the crinkles, and it makes it easier for you to cover it with clay. Okay, that's the beginning. And as you can see, the bend is a bit higher than the shoulders, so I need to make this slightly higher. Again, just loosely crumple and then add it on. It doesn't have to be very carefully done because you're going to do all of your main shaping with the actual clay, but it's good to have a nice base to begin with. So to hold everything together, in fact I need to just fill in this gap, this hollow over here first, then I will show you what I do to hold it together. I'm using a much smaller piece, just going to lightly crumple and push it in. Okay, so this piece will jump out constantly. So you have to stick it in somehow. You can obviously use masking tape, but I like the air conditioning tape. There's no real reason, just something I like to use. Masking tape works just as well. So as you can see, there's nothing very exact about any of this. But then on the other hand, people are not exact in any way. They are asymmetrical. They have different shapes all over. So this is not a terribly exact science. Okay, so there we go. Now, when I make my armatures like this, I always feel as if my person is bending too far forward. So in the block, I will just give it a push back so that it can bend the wires where they go in. And then I will just fill in the little gap that was formed at the bottom. You can do that with clay as well. Weird things happening on top there. Okay, there we have the beginning of the armature. This is not the way I would normally make armatures for my full figures, because then you would do the arms and the legs and the spine and everything. This is just to keep everything together and as a good way of putting them onto the base. All right, next step is to do the head. So for the head, I start with quite a big piece of foil. Okay, so this 440 millimeters wide, I'd say probably about 60 long. Then lightly crunch it up into the ball, and then I start forming the head. Still very lightly scrunched, it's not hard at all. So there we are starting to develop the jawline and the chin and the back of the skull. And I'm going to get one of my completed ones so that I can compare, because I'd like this to be a series that fits together, so they all need to have similar sizes. So I'm going to get one of those, and then we can look how much smaller I need to make this. Because he was the first of the series, I have been comparing all of the heads to his size so that they can be similar. So if we look now, it's a little wide and it's a little high. So I need to narrow it, because obviously we're going to be adding clay to make the final character. So using a hard surface, I will squish it a little. That brings the jaw up. And I'm going to do the top a little. All right, I think this is almost right. Okay, this is the front. Very close. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to make place for the eyes that we have made. Before I put the clay on, I always make space for them to go into. And I have this little container that happens to be exactly the right size. Well, it's slightly small, so I wiggle it about a bit so that there's space for clay. Always thinking about the layer of clay that's going to be added. Okay, so the eyes are about halfway from the top to the bottom. So I'm going to put it there and there. So now I have two very big indents, which allows me some room to play. If you look at this thing now, it looks terrible, but that is the start of the sculpt. Then, what I'm planning to do this time is somebody sticking their tongue out, pulling their tongue out. So, every picture that I've looked at, because I look at lots of pictures before I start any of these, the head is slightly tilted to the side. That looks like a nice tilt. But now, obviously, the neck is miles too long. So I will get my side cutters and cut it shorter. The way I decide how much to cut off is I look at the length of the neck and decide how much too long it is. So I want my head to come to about there. That's a good size for the neck. So then I look at how much has to be cut. I mean, how much it is too long. And I try to remember that. And I cut that much off the wires. So it is about, it is about that much too long. And then I put it back into the same holes. And have a look. And that is exactly the angle that I want. And it is the right length. And I am happy with this. I don't want it to be quite that far back in the neck, in the head. I want it further forward. Oops. That's a bit better. That's more like how I want it. Alright, so if you look, the original holes were there, and now were there, and now I'm putting them here, so that there's less jaw before the neck. Right, so I put some around the neck. Oops, get that down there. So I put some around the neck. And I bring some over the head just to keep it all as one solid piece. Where the eyes are, I will re-establish the spaces. A little more on the neck, because we don't want to screw anything. Oops. Then I put a few pieces of tape just to keep everything where I've put it. If I was making an open mouth sculpt, then I would make the opening now. But this one is going to have closed mouth with the tongue sticking out. Okay. And do all of the rest of your rough shaping and positioning. And then once you are really happy with the shape, the very basic shape, I think I need to give her more of a brain case. So I hold it in position and then I push it and scrunch it right where it's supposed to go so that it gets basically keyed into the shape. and then it's easy to just stick it there. So that's basically my armature. I'm quite happy with how it is. I can picture her sticking her little tongue out. I like the tilt. But you need to make your armature the way that you would like it to be. So I'm not going to give you any more hints now. I am, from this point, going to start covering with clay.